Welcome to Enlightened Evolution.
I'm Cay.
And I'm Christina.
We're here to discuss the ebb and flow of our soul's healing and transformation through self-reflection, choosing intentionally, honoring thyself, and following your inner guide.
Thank you for joining this safe space with us.
Good morning and welcome to a new season and a new episode of Enlightened Evolution. Thank you for starting this new season off with us. I can't believe it's been a year. We've been doing this for over a year because we did a lot of prep work before we started. So it's really awesome. Our first episode, we talked about ourselves, introducing ourselves, but we also talked about what the theme of our healing journey was. So we are going to talk about that in this episode to kind of reflect and look into the future. Something we talked about doing before we even started this podcast was pulling an oracle card for each episode, and then we never did it. So we are starting that fresh with this season. So Cay is going to pull us a card and let us know what it means.
I am. This is my favorite deck that I have. One of them, I'll say my top three. It's called the Citadel. And the Citadel is based on 4 different areas. Well, it's based on a fantasy world, and it's separated with the elements, and then each element has what sign you are. And it doesn't really emphasize on signs so much, but that's just the basis of kind of what this deck represents. And each town or each sign has different characters. So whatever character I pull out of this deck is the reading that you need. So once I pull it and I read, you will understand a little bit more. And so if this resonates,
sounds really interesting.
It is. I love it. It's my favorite deck. So if it resonates with you, that's great. If it don't apply, let it fly. How do you pull your cards? Theory. Do you just let them fly out, or do you pick them? I just let them fly out.
I try to let them fly out. I love that.
So the catalyst came out upright. When I think about a catalyst, I think about something that you come across that shoots you into the direction where you need to go. It's like a bridge for where you are and to where you're going. The catalyst stands for radical changes and taking control. And okay. Artifacts lay scattered across the table. A diviner might be able to decipher their meaning, but to the catalyst, they're just frustrating jumble of clutter. Wherever they go, they seem to be the inciter of change, whether they intend to or not. They have toppled empires and ended the reigns of kings, and though something has always grown from the rubble, they're always left wondering what calamity comes next. Life does not exist in a state of stasis, and meaningful development only comes with change. It is to resist growth. You must become the catalyst that shakes the very foundation of your life. You are the hurricane that blows the cobwebs from the corners. You are the bolt of lightning that topples the tower. You may not know what form this change will take, but change has to happen through upheaval, chaos, and destruction. You will be able to start anew.
I love that. I think that is perfect for the political climate that we're in right now. We need a catalyst to bring us out of this.
I don't even have any input on that because I don't watch the news and I have no idea really what's going on. It sounds like a mess from what I hear from everybody. It's been a theme ever since what's his face got elected. So,
and I will say that's also, it ties into kind of what my focus is for this next year is taking action.
Yeah. So
did you get a chance to listen back to our first episode?
I did. I listened to it this morning. My theme, I suppose, was honor my yeses and my nos and be my full authentic self, which I believe that I definitely executed that this year. But I was also very impulsive after, because at the beginning of the episode, I'm like, I'm not, I was really hard on myself. I was in such a different state from like just freshly getting out of that like very mentally abusive relationship. So I was judging myself for everything, and I was ashamed of a lot of things. And I was like, I'm not going to have sex. I'm going to be completely sober. Like I need to be like on this straight and arrow. And I think I did that for about 7 months until like July. And I'm like, this is like, I don't need to isolate myself. And I don't, so it's like natural for humans to want to connect. And I wanted to reintroduce connection into my life. And I don't feel bad about changing my mind on that. And so I've been dating ever since, and it's been fine, but I've definitely been honoring my yeses and my nos. And when I say I'm impulsive, I will quickly stop talking to somebody. Like, and and I definitely have an avoidant attachment thing, but also pretty secure because I don't need to have attachments either, so I kind of question myself on that. So I
Yeah.
think I'm going to continue. Like I just integrate the honor my yeses and my nos. I'm definitely becoming more of my authentic self. I think that's on like a continuum. You know what I mean? We just keep integrating, and then we kind of shed old things and integrate what we needed, and then we become somebody else through our growth and change and experiences. And now we have this wisdom, and I don't know. I don't like judge myself anymore, and that's what I love.
That's awesome.
Yours was being
I
very curious, I remember. Do you still feel the same?
Yeah. Taking accountability, being curious, and slowing my responses. And it took a good few months for me to grasp the slowing my responses.
Mhm.
um, I think it's made a tremendous difference. I was telling one of my coworkers, I was like, "This is the first year I can put on my like self evaluation that I didn't get talked to about the way I spoke to someone."
Yeah, I remember that was a theme for a while last year.
Mhm.
I love
And
that for you.
it's true. I've taken I guess I've realized that it's not that serious and I need to
Mhm.
take things less seriously. I've worked this year also on kind of I felt like I overperformed a lot, and that's what drove me to be so emotional about my responses to people. So I've taken a step back and given what is expected of others. So as much as others give, that's what I give at work. And
Right.
I feel like that has helped me. Taking accountability. Yeah, I think each episode that we've gone into, I've tried to see how, what parts I've played in things.
Mhm.
Definitely being curious has continued to be a theme. I think for the past few years, I have really like I'm a Cancer. I really have like dug deep into my shell, into my hermit mode. And I feel like, and I've shed a lot of layers, and some of those layers were friendships that weren't serving me. Um, and in this next year, I feel I'm focusing on alignment and community and action. So, aligning the things I do with my purpose and my passions. I've been making more friends, so I'm looking for, that community that with people that I share like-minded ideas with.
Mhm.
And then also taking action. I know you don't get into politics too much, and we don't typically talk about them too much on the podcast, but I do believe that there's a time when we have to take action, especially with the things that are going now in our country. And so I'm constantly looking for ways, especially in my community, to take action, even if it's just marching or writing to my senators or whoever. I feel very pushed to do that.
Nice. That's Yeah. I don't know. Where do you get your sources from when you look at when you take in your political, I don't know, videos or what TV station do you listen to?
Mhm.
Like, where do you get your sources from?
I definitely don't watch the news. I would say that it begins with things that are posted on social media, but this is what I believe every person should do. If you see something, like people will see something, they'll just automatically repost it or whatever,
Mhm.
or they'll go along with it. No, I believe every person should question what they see because there is a lot of misinformation on social media. For me, like if someone posts, "Oh, Trump signed an executive order for blah blah blah," then I actually go and look at whether it's whitehouse.gov or whatever the actual true resources are and see,
Mhm.
did this in fact happen? That's how I go about it.
Yeah. I did see fake news the other day. I did see that on social media it said Trump signed an executive order that if men pay child support, then they get to claim their kids on their tax return, and people were losing their shit over that. Like, my baby daddy pays $20 a month and he gets to claim my kids on on his taxes. And it was fake. Like, it's only if they pay a
Oh.
certain amount, like
And
a
that's the
high
thing.
amount.
Yeah. People will put a tagline and it will make you think something other than what the full
Yeah.
truth is.
Yeah, it's overwhelming to
Absolutely.
me
It
to
is. And I take in as much as I can and then I do have to shut it off at some point because
Mhm.
I can't have it affecting my day-to-day life like that. To a degree.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's things there's definitely some things that we
Yes.
have to be. And there's some that are wild too. Like his executive order for gender assigned at birth, but the way they wrote it was the first signs of gonads or whatever, and that would basically make it so that everyone is a female because everyone starts off with female genitalia. And I was just like, did no one with like a degree in science help them write this?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's special.
Yeah, I think the
Do you feel
gender that's a very sensitive subject for a lot of people when it comes to
do
that.
you yeah. Do you feel any new themes emerging in your healing journey?
Listening to the very first podcast, I realized that I had not started EMDR therapy yet. I didn't even know my therapist existed. I had an older therapist that I fired shortly after that episode, I remember. And EMDR therapy has changed my perspective and healed my anger and my impulsiveness so much this last year. A big theme I've inherited is let people just be who they are, like just let them. And
Mhm.
it's been so freeing to just, I don't have to convince anybody anymore. I think this is more so in romantic relationships too, like beg them to do what they're supposed to do or beg them to see your perspective or to take accountability or whatever the case may be that would be in the struggle in my relationship. And instead of like fighting the resistance and just accept that you don't align with this person, and like why even argue, why even stress out and pour my energy into things that don't feel good, which falls into my next theme was prioritizing my peace. And if that means rescheduling things or not being as close to certain friends because they don't choose peace in their life and I'm not going to let that pour, you know, over into mine. I would say with things like that, like prioritizing my peace. Another thing, like I said, EMDR therapy has like helped heal my anger. I used to be just so, especially like at home with my kids and they're being disrespectful. And I'm not a perfect mom by any means. I still trip out on them sometimes because that's just what kids push you to do. However, I've like calmness is contagious. So I notice like at home in my mom mode or at work in in my role as a nurse, when you stay calm, other people will, it's kind of adapt to your energy. And so a lot of people I've heard say, like, I match energies. Like, absolutely not. I just
Mm-mm.
maintain my own.
Mm-mm.
So, and I love how you were saying, like, you're very curious. Like, I've asked a whole lot more questions this year. I was very intentional when I misunderstood somebody or I was triggered by somebody or offended. Like, I would ask questions to get a deeper meaning of why, if I felt a certain type of way about how, um, they were interacting with me. And a lot of times, a lot of things are misunderstandings or how things are said. Um, I know, like, if I'm at work and I need to eat and someone's like, "Oh, you're getting another patient," and it's like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, I I'm already over matrix. I'm not taking that patient. My unit clerk's like, "Well, I don't know," and I was like, "I'm sorry, that's not even directed towards you. That's directed towards a nursing supervisor. They can fuck off." Like, and so, like, I miscommunicate as well because it's like, "Why are you attacking me?" And I was like, "It's not even I'm not even like, I'm hollering at you, but the attack is towards them." Which
Yeah. They're just the messenger. Poor them.
yeah, I know. And then lastly, just know thyself. And I think this is the hardest part because I don't wanna say I flip-flop, but when we're presented with new information, our perspective changes, or I experience something and now I'm like, "Ooh, I liked what I experienced before a little bit better, even though that didn't work as much, I like that better." So it's like I'm trying to, like, tweak my experiences and my feelings about certain things or whatever the subject may be in my life. So I'm just trying to get a better understanding of my needs and my desires, and unfortunately, sometimes that fluctuates depending on what phase of my cycle that I'm in. So I think I've really got that down is knowing how I'm going to react in which phase of my cycle, but how to maintain kind of a more consistency in general throughout the month in each cycle, if
Mhm.
that makes sense. Because, like, in my ovulation phase, I'm gonna wanna be, like, super romantic and, lovey-dovey and really want, like, that physical connection with somebody, but, like, in my luteal phase right now, it's like, men irritate me, like, fuck off, like, stop texting me, like, and so it's like I need a balance of, like, not being so mean in my luteal phase and you know what I'm saying? Like, not having, like, this manic reaction, I guess I should say, like, to certain things. So, just trying
Mhm.
to continue to balance out. I'd say this last year was really good. I've I've grown so much since, the beginning of last year. Just listening to myself, I'm like, "Oh my god, I was so" like, I just sounded so, like, meek and scared, and now it's like, I just don't give a fuck. Like, I've adopted, like, I don't give a fuck in the most kindest way
I could
possible
definitely
without hurting anybody else, you know?
Yeah. I could definitely hear that listening back to it, the
Mhm.
difference in your thought process and things like that, and I love that. Yeah, this year has been tremendous growth for me, and I will say one of the biggest thing has been harnessing my emotional state with my cycle. When we did that
Mhm.
episode, I didn't realize how impactful it was gonna be to the rest of my life because now I'm so much more in tune with it. I can check myself and be like, "Hold on, you're in your luteal phase. No need to react." If you're feeling
Yeah.
overwhelmed, now I just, tell Jordan, "Hey, I'm overstimulated," so that he knows, it's nothing he did wrong. I'm overwhelmed right now and I can't have extra stupid shit.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, I used to get so depressed and down on myself, like, "Why am I so depressed right now? Why do I feel like this? Why is this gotta be so hard?" And really, it's like, just honoring this phase in my cycle that I'm going through and try to make myself the most comfortable that I can be. What does that look like for me? Less stimulation, more ibuprofen, more chocolate. Do I need to smoke a joint? And not judging myself for the things that I need to make myself feel better and just not fighting against my hormones really. and letting people know, like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm just in my luteal phase right now. I need you to understand that. And maybe I need to keep
And
my
I feel
distance.
like I don't know if it might be the supplements that I've been taking or
Oh
just
gosh,
the
yeah.
true knowledge of my cycle, but I do feel like it has evened out more to where it's not as extreme highs and lows as it used to be.
I agree. I would say having a continuous workout regimen has been so impactful, and then taking that calcium, vitamin D, magnesium supplement at night is game changer. Just doing those 2 things, and I don't even feel like I don't know, working out isn't even you don't even have to overwhelm yourself like that, like, do something for 10 or 20 minutes if that's all that you can do, and it makes a huge
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say since I've gotten a more regular workout routine, I have not had a bout of depression.
Mhm.
So hoping that that stays. That's awesome. I will say another thing that I really didn't focus and emphasize on, but has truly been a theme and I think will continue to be a theme is, and I guess this taps into curiosity, just duality of things. You and I talked recently. My mom provided me with a bunch of court documents from when I was young, and my mom was going through custody and different things with my bio dad. And you were like, does this give you a new perspective on your mom? And it absolutely does. And it did give me a much deeper appreciation for what she went through. I mean, she went through multiple psychological evaluations as a person who was a young 21-year-old mom who had very limited resources, was on welfare, like, and she's going to all these appointments and doing all these things just to keep me safe. Like, that was
Mhm.
huge. And I said at the same time, it doesn't negate the person that she has been throughout my life as well. So while I do appreciate very much everything she has done for me, there's also been her. And both of those things can exist at the same time.
Yeah.
I do feel like our relationship is getting better. I know I've talked about her plenty on this podcast. She
Mhm.
just came to visit recently. And I've said, since she's been with her husband, her attitude has been totally different. And at first I was like, okay, this is just temporary. But now they're like a year and a half into it and it's staying fairly consistent. So I'm hoping that this maybe isn't the new her because she is. And the way she explained it to me, like she was unhappy all those years when she was married to my dad.
Yeah.
And that poured into how she treated us. And I totally get that. And she said, she's finally in a happy relationship. And that's why she's better towards us, I guess.
A little bit
And I
calmer.
mean, that makes sense. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's getting better. And I love that.
That's
I'm
good.
still like, there's always this part of me is like waiting for the shoe to fall just because it has so many times in the past, but
Oh, for sure, and I don't
it's
think it's
okay
gonna
to be
be
optimistic.
yeah, and I think that recognize the growth that she's had, but she's still growing and trying to change herself probably in a way, at least to not just maintain a relationship with you, but satisfy her partner. So if she does fall off the wagon a little bit and she offends you and hurts you, that's always a backtrack, like, when that happens with me and my mom. I don't talk to her, like, we don't talk for a while, but, it's always, like, forgiven, and she's human too.
Mhm. Yeah. But that's what we gotta take into account. And that's, like, one of the things you were pointing out is, like, all the shit like, even in the court documents, I know everyone hears the term narcissist nowadays, and they're like, "Oh,
Mhm.
this is just, like, a new word." No, honey, in 1991, it's in my court documents that the therapist diagnosed my bio dad as a narcissist. And so, my mom having to deal with that, having to deal with all the like, there was just so many
Mhm.
eye-opening things in these documents and the shit that she put up with, and absolutely all of that would change who you are and it would be hard to function in that state. So
Oh, yeah.
I definitely give her grace there.
Yeah.
Another thing we wanted to kind of touch on, International Women's Day is coming up, and Women's History Month is in March. So we just wanted to kind of talk about women and how to support them. I know that we have a lot of male listeners, and I love that.
I do
That is
too.
freaking awesome.
And they
So
must
shout out
love
to
women.
y'all for
Yeah,
listening.
and they must love women. So I'm sure that they'll
Exactly.
be happy to hear that it's International Women's Day.
Mhm.
I don't think I have a picture of it anymore. I wish I did just for the purpose of mentioning that, but they were selling these shirts and it said like women couldn't vote until this year and women couldn't even have a bank account until this year or own property or
And it was like the 1970s, like not that long ago.
yeah, or it's like what?
Yeah. So definitely my very first advice is to educate yourself on women's history and gender
Mhm.
inequality and just how recent it's been that women have had rights. Now we are getting some rights taken away again as far as our health care,
Mhm.
which is really scary. But just educate yourself on those things. I think it's so eye-opening to people when they learn like just how recent women were allowed to vote or have their own bank account, purchase their own home. Like it's wild. You can also support women-owned businesses. Us, we are a women-owned business. Our podcast, sharing our podcast, other people you know. I have so many amazing girlfriends that have businesses, cleaning businesses, lash businesses, credit
Mhm.
businesses, and I'm always like posting their pages and things to, get out to whoever follows me. And it's funny because it'll like change my algorithm.
And all that
and
stuff will
then
start
I'll
popping
start
up. Yeah.
huh?
Oh, it'll start popping up like that you'll need like more information
Yeah,
about all
like
this.
you want lashes. I'm like, I don't get my lashes done. I'm just supporting
Mhm.
this page. Or credit repair, and I'm like, I have 800 credit score. Like
Yeah.
I'm good.
Mhm.
I don't need to look at this, but I'm just supporting it.
Just as a
I think some
reminder, I think that if we stopped having sex with men for like at least 3 months, we would like run the world. At least
Yeah,
this country. If all American women just stopped having sex with men for 3 months, they could you imagine?
mm-mm.
They'd lose
No.
their shit. I don't know. I think we've always had more power than what we've given ourselves credit for.
Absolutely. I
Like,
mean,
this world
we
has been
create
const
life.
yeah, and this world, it has been constructed to benefit men. The systems in society, it's been constructed by
Yeah.
men to benefit them. We're just kind of there, and I do love how much we've evolved, I guess, in the least, gosh, 20, 40 years. We choose to have our careers
Mhm.
now. Women are choosing not to get married and have children before 25 years old. Like, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, if I feel like if you want some gentle insight, go watch the Barbie movie. Did you see that movie?
No, it was good.
It talks about yeah, it talks very heavily about living in like a patriarchy and how different it
Mhm.
would be if women ran the world. And then also listen to the song Labor by Paris Paloma.
Oh, yeah, it's a good one.
That the energy in that song, like it gives me chills every time I listen to it because I feel the pain of every single woman.
Mhm.
And I just think if you want some insight, listen to that.
Yeah, and I know it's not all black and white, but the weight that we bear, I just feel like is so much heavier when it comes to I know that there's a lot of good men that do take up a lot of responsibility and they take initiative and you don't have to tell them what they need to be doing. Like there is men, I recognize that. But so many women that I know, like personally, they work all day long and then they go home and then they have to do bath time with kids, bedtime, homework, cook dinner, be responsible for cleaning, be responsible for the doctor's appointments or whatever the case may be with their kids, be responsible for mother-in-law's birthday gifts, like every little tiny thing. that needs to be handled outside of work, the woman is responsible for. And yeah, maybe she asks her husband for help and he does help her, but why can't he take initiative to do those things? Well, I've worked all day. Motherfucker. Okay, I
So
did
did I.
too. And so I do know a lot of people where that's not even recognized. Like if a woman works, like she still has to have all the other bear all
All
the
the
weight of the
emotional labor
yep,
and psychological labor.
and
Yeah.
physical labor. Yep. And so money's not everything to us anymore. You know, it used to be let's get a husband that is going to financially support me. I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom and it's like thinking in the right situation like that would be great. If I had a great emotionally
Yeah.
supportive, stable, financially hardworking husband, like that would be great to be able to just relax and stay at home and tend to my household and my children. Like, but
Because that is a full-time job in itself.
it really is. So just to think like, ugh, it's much easier for me to be on my own than to think of staying with what I chose in the past when my children were very young. I couldn't imagine being in those relationships, trying to raise my kids and do everything. That's why they ended. It was so much easier just to do it all alone.
Because, I mean, at that point, that man is just another child that you're taking care
Yeah,
of.
and then they want to that's why my libido's so low, sir, because I am you it's like you are just another
I'm not
son.
sexually attracted to you if I'm
No.
taking care of you as if you're my child.
Mm-mm. No, sir.
No. Another thing you can do for International Women's Day and Women's History Month is volunteer or donate. I suggest donating to Planned Parenthood. I will say that they helped me so much as a teenage girl who did not want to tell their mom that they were sexually active. My butt was in there getting my little checkup every time.
Mhm.
They gave free, I mean, everything was free. Gave me free birth control, free condoms, free health checks, STD checks, free PAPs. All of that was free as a kid. And I remember I would go in there. I mean, kid, I was 16, 17. I would go in there and, like check out or whatever, where they give you all your birth control and everything. And they'd be like, can you pay for anything today? And I'm like, no. And they're like, okay. And now as an adult who has the funds, I'm like, I want to give back to them as much as possible because there was a
Mhm.
time when I had precancerous cells and they took care of me during that. So like they do so much for our community.
Yes.
Another thing you can do, especially as a woman, mentor other women. If you are somewhere, in a position where someone else wants to be, I know I've mini mentored or informally mentored plenty of people in my life, and just sharing your expertise, how you got to where you are. Don't gatekeep the information. Like we should be
Mhm.
supporting each other. There is room for all of us at the top, and we should be pulling each other up and helping each other to get there.
Yes. Haven't you been finding friends, new friends?
I have.
That's
I
sweet.
made you know what? So you know how everyone always use that phrase, if he wanted to, he would, for a guy you're dating.
Yeah.
This person that I met, I just absolutely adore her. She's a therapist, first of all. I'm like, oh, I'm like,
Nice.
okay, let me not ask you too many questions. Like, I don't want to overwhelm her, but I'm like, let me not trauma dump on you, but we already did that, so that's fine. She was just really cool, really awesome. And she was like, I hope you don't mind. I saw that you have a podcast and I listened to a couple episodes. And I was like, tears in my eyes. I'm like, are you kidding
Aw.
me? Like, I had friends of 15 plus years that wouldn't listen to it.
Mhm.
We're no longer friends, but like you
Mhm.
took that upon yourself to get to know me on a deeper level. And I'm like, "Ugh, awesome. So it's going
That's
well.
sweet.
I'm
Good.
actually supposed to meet someone this afternoon for coffee, but it's not till like 4, and I absolutely hate like doing things in the middle of the day. I don't
Yeah,
know, it's
same.
weird. And I also feel like I don't know. I'm like you, like when you're dating, like once I find the person that meets my criteria, I'm like, I don't
Mhm.
really need to talk to anybody else.
Yeah, that's how I
And
feel
sh-
about it.
and and I started to realize like I don't have time for a bunch of friends. I just want one friend that's close by that I can, I have you and I have other friends that it feels like all my good friends are miles and miles away,
Mhm.
like hours away. But I want someone local that I can, go to dinner with, whatever, go get a pedicure.
Mhm. That would be nice. I don't really have anything like that here either. I am going out with my coworkers today for, like, brunch, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, I need to make some more friends because you're so far. I
I
just
know.
I don't know. Well, do you have anything else? I was just gonna do a quick recap on our healing themes.
I think the last thing I have highlighted in my notes is one of the most powerful actions you can take it for women is to listen to women and understand their unique struggles and experiences, especially those in marginalized communities, and becoming an ally. So, part of allyship is you are privileged to be in rooms that maybe someone else might not be in, and you have that ability to stand up for those people. So, say you're
Mhm.
in a company and it's all men at the table and they're making rules that would or policies that would really not work for a woman's, maybe it's the time of leave they get for paternity and maternity leave, whatever it might be. You have the opportunity to say, hey, this doesn't serve some of our workforce and this is what I think we should do. So think about how you can be an ally and stand up for those that aren't present or don't have a voice.
For sure. I know that at work, a lot of the baby nurses and the new grads that come in, the it's so work drama is so petty, nurse drama is so catty sometimes being with all those women as well. So I think that when the younger ones come in, some of us definitely advocate like, "No, actually, you need a lighter team today or a lighter assignment, and that person was just looking up for their self. It's okay to speak up for yourself. That's not what we're gonna do today." So, just giving them that confidence. I enjoy doing that.
Absolutely. Letting them know it's okay to speak up. That's a huge one.
Mhm. 'Cause it's a little scary. I know I'm just a more direct person, and I'm not afraid, but thinking of, like, a younger nurse in her early 20s that hasn't maybe handled a whole lot of confrontation in the workplace,
Oh, yeah.
just, you know,
That
trying
was me
to
at the beginning of my career. I would say
yeah.
yes to anything. I never questioned what people did, and then
Yeah.
I was a baby too. I was young.
Mhm.
And
Yes,
then I learned.
that's right. Yeah. So
That's all I've got.
me too. And so when I listen to this next year and we do this again, I just want to remember that calmness is contagious. My energy has power. Let people be who they are. Acceptance frees us both. Prioritize my peace by choosing what really matters and know thyself. Understand my needs and desires to live more authentically. So that's
I
what I'm
love
going to
that. And
carry with me for the rest of the year. Mhm.
I'm carrying action, community. I lost my other one. Oh, alignment.
Mhm.
Alignment. Making sure that the things I involve myself in are aligned with my higher purpose.
Wonderful. Well, thank you everybody for listening us today. We appreciate you. Give us a like, give us a follow. Find us on all major social media and podcast platforms.
Oh, and new this year, we have an Amazon list on our link tree. So if you go to our Instagram, we're going to start to try to link some of the supplements and books and things that we recommend so that you can go there and find them all in one spot. So there's a
Nice.
couple on there right now. We'll continue to add to it.
Perfect.
All
Yeah.
right.
Namaste.
Namaste.